Hey, we're doing it digital today. Why? Because Winston screwed me up again. It's 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, he knows it. He's laughing, but he knows it. He screwed me up twice. And what you do is, if you want to shoot something at 2:30, you tell Coy we're shooting it at 12:45, and then he'll get there in time. Because other than that, this whole thing is a disaster. It's like Jurassic Park 3. That's what we're talking about today, guys. What a week we're having so far. What a week. It's going to be interesting because we have the big spoiler review of Doctor Strange coming out on Monday. There's a lot. And I got my crew. And if you didn't know this already, just let everybody know that we're going to start kind of putting the big thing up basically 5 times a week. And how that's going to work is Monday and Tuesday and Thursday are going to be like kind of big thing proper, the episodes that you're used to with a guest, and probably going to have Kate and Brett be regular members of the show, and then we'll have a guest on and do that once we rearrange the studio and do all that. Wednesday, the Big Thing Star Wars show is Sith Council. It's officially on the Big Thing podcast. And then Friday will be the rewatch. We're just going to keep doing rewatches every Friday. No matter what the hell it is, we'll find something. Even if there's no big movies coming out, we'll find something. And the team will be me, Coy, and Winston. So you'll be able to see us every Friday. I know people have really been enjoying the series. So now you get it every week, every Friday. So, and I think Coy and Winston knew that. And if they don't, well, they just found it out. And if Coy was early, he would have found it out. And if Winston didn't screw me over, he would have found out in person. So that's the case. That's the thing. That's the big thing. We got it. It's Jurassic Park 3, everybody. Let's do it. Come on. That's a stupid screenshot. Forget it. See, if I was in my studio right now with you guys doing OBS, then that wouldn't be the problem.
That wouldn't be a problem. It's funny. I am totally down to cancel this commercial. I'm just gonna need you to run me about $8,000, Kristian. So if you good with that, I'll never delay you again.
Now, Winston, was it in the text? Was it the text I sent that said 2:33, 2:30 earliest that was confusing? Because I think I rushed over from seeing Doctor Strange footage to get here at 2:37. Boy was in the chat. I'm just saying.
But to understand, this is why Winston, you do this to me again, I'm going to be upset with you, because Coy is basically broadcasting from a Sprite can right now. You can't even understand. Can't even hear him.
Shit. Would you prefer I go full Bonnie and just not show up?
Sure, but your video is great. Your audio is great. Coy, you look wonderful.
Do I got either going?
No, but you're Irish. How are you tan?
I got sunburnt and it turned into this. It's a one-day thing. It'll peel tomorrow. Don't worry.
It's fine. Okay. All right. Look, I'm not going to tell you what's going to be more entertaining: us ripping on each other or Jurassic Park 3. I don't.
I lied.
So what's hilarious about that is, so if you watched our Jurassic Park 2 Lost World last week, I was convinced that Alan Grant was in the second movie, but because I had watched the beginning of the movie with the other one. Here's what I'm going to tell you about Jurassic Park 3. It is easily a way worse made, worse directed film than the second one. There's no doubt about it. However, I think the story is better in this one. I do think the story is better.
Well, it's one story. It's an amusement park ride, so you've only got one trajectory to take. So it kind of works in that it knows what it is, as opposed to Lost World felt like it was trying to be Jurassic Park 1 while also being an amusement park ride. So if we're going to give it a compliment, it's at least honest in its silliness.
Yeah, there's nothing fresh about this movie. There's at all. It's a complete rehash. They just go back to the same island. They do revisit a lot of the same locations, which is interesting too. I never noticed that the first time I had seen it, when they go through the same vending machine that they pop through, and then Dickie Moltisanti kicks in he kicks in the you knew that was Dickie Moltisanti, right, Coy? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know it as a kid, obviously, but right, I was really excited this time.
So he kicks in the thing, and then William H. Macy was just playing a dope. What I really also, going back and watching this and realize that what I don't like at all is Tia Leone is such a great actress. Wasted.
And they let her do nothing.
Oh, and she's just kind of the screaming, scared woman the whole time. It's bad. And I'm going to give the girl in the second one a little more props, because I thought she was the worst kid. This kid's running around in a leaf outfit and and running around with the dinosaurs. I've been here for 8 weeks. You'd be dead. You eating up beans? Come on,
bro. This child, I didn't realize, y'all didn't tell me that what the Boy Scouts actually is white kids learning how to be Rambo. Like, how the hell did this kid know how to throw gas grenades, get T-Rex pee? Like,
yes. And that part was so dumb. All of it was dumb. It's like if they're like, look, because here's the funny part. They don't give a crap. No one cares about this kid because they care about the kid. But like, so Alan Grant calls Laura Dern. She sends the Marines. She sends it. They all just show up, and they show up in like 2 hours, right? This kid's been there for 8 weeks. It's like
suddenly someone cares about anyone
rich as hell. You're telling me the parents have all that money they can't donate to us?
They're not rich. Remember that was
That's
the whole
twist.
I guess that they would have been lying. Okay, yeah. The check didn't clear. Okay, yes.
So poor people don't have any clout. Laura Dern does.
But it was just hilarious.
Like real life.
It's so dumb. Like, but even if Laura Dern was able to call, like, why she has so much clout that the Marines would show up, and she shows the army, whatever, they show up, but they're there in like an hour, and it's like
who did she marry? Because that's what I was trying to figure out. Is he a senator or some shit that she was able to get the Marines?
Even so, this is way more, like the cell phone. This is 2001. So I don't know if he had a cell phone on him, but she just kissed him goodbye. So she would have had to. There's so much more that would have had to. You didn't even see her again. You just saw her in that one scene. You did like you know how many. Dude, when I call Spectrum, I'm on the phone. And I can't get somebody to come over and fix my modem we have an appointment for next May. What?
Between 5 and 9 p.m. next May.
The Army. What are you guys doing right now? Nothing. Just watching the Depp Heard trial. No, listen. We want you to go and pick up the doctor from the other thing. He's got the dinosaurs are chasing him. Okay.
Are you a top paleontologist? I will be there. Thank you, top paleontologist.
Thanks. Yeah. Who are you? Oh, I'm the one. I retired and I got my kid now, and so I was in the Lost World.
And according to Kristian Harloff, I was really good in the Lost World. So you should
Holdo. I'll be Holdo in a couple of years. No? Purple hair? Got me? Okay, good. Send the tanks. So stupid.
Yo, can we talk about the one thing that I finally connected the dots, though, that makes sense? I was trying to realize, why the hell would he imagine the raptor saying his name? And I realized it's because he had that wild-ass conversation with Laura Dern about the raptors were able to communicate with each other. So that's I didn't connect those dots. I just thought that he's so scared of going back to Jurassic Park that a raptor goes, and then
that all adds, spell it out very well, in fairness.
No, but it all adds up to a stupid moment too. The eggs, which is a repeated beat from the second movie with this time it's not the raptors, it's not the T-Rexes, it's the raptors. And then they're all communicating, and there's a ton of different times they could have pounced on them and they didn't. And then finally, they don't want her. They just want the eggs, right? Well, why don't they just rip your guts out and take the eggs?
And also, at no point have we met raptors that wouldn't want to consume human. Like, there's still flesh, there's still meat, there's still dinner.
And why'd they let him live at the end? Because he's blowing through a horn in the side. It sounded horrible. It's like, they think that you're actually communicating with them. No, they don't. Stupid. And then no one thought,
confused as shit. The raptors were like,
what is this?
It would literally be like if Kristian went to the hood right now and was like, "Hey, let me go ahead and get that 2-piece. What's good, my brother?" And they were like, "What the hell is this white boy talking about?"
He's saying words that I'm familiar with, but not in that order or phrasing.
No.
What are these? No,
it's terrible. And there's so much dumb things happen because they don't set the kid up to be Rambo when he's on the paragliding thing at first. They set him up as a scared kid, which he should be.
And then he goes Tarzan in 8 weeks.
Right. I did like that scene. I think that it would have been a lot better. First of all, the kid, here's another thing. The kid is such a good, he's throwing gas bombs. He's getting the peas, doing everything. Yet he lets his buddy just rot in a tree.
He's not strong, Kristian. He's a child.
Find a way to kill him. You know what the argument's going to be? The argument's going to be that he probably died on impact. That's probably going to be the argument. But it wasn't really addressed. But either way, you can't just let him sit there. And it's like all of that. But I did like that opening scene in Jurassic Park. The franchise in general seems to have that problem. It's got a lot of times it's got a great opening scene with a lot of things afterwards that doesn't deliver. And it's funny, a lot of times we've talked about it on this show, like especially Doctor Strange was one, the Spider-Man movies were one, where the rewatch has enhanced the movie for us, right? This is the exact opposite for me. I remember saying for a lot of times that I thought 3 was a better movie than 2. I take that back. It's not a better movie. I think I still enjoy watching the story overall. I think as a dinosaur monster movie, this is the better one. With it has all these big kind of moments for the whole thing. It's the second one it's Spielberg. It's way better directed. It's better acted. There's no argument.
And there's subplots. There's actual like character motivation. There's nuance. It's not all good, but it exists. There's no nuance in this.
They're trying to do something different, at least, even though there's some repeated beats. This is just repeated beats over and over and over again. But it's like the family and the parents, even though it's Tia Leone and William H Macy, they're not likable people. Like. No. Even the guy dies and she's like, "You jerk, you leave me alone." It's like, he's like, "I'm not going anywhere." It's like, "Oh, that's a cute moment." No, it's not. She just called him a jerk until he was dead. These are terrible people.
Yeah, no one in this film really is redeeming except the kid that is somehow overpowerful.
Yeah, no, they Captain Marveled him. They gave him too much power for sure. As far as like the minute you see him, like, you know what I'm saying, when Captain Marvel realizes how much power she has, it's like, yeah, it's like you just OP'd everything. Yeah, it's the same thing. This kid should anything. Have the kid miss a leg. Give me something that I'm like, yo, he's seen some stuff.
He survived being Mel Gibson's kid in The Patriot, and that elevates him.
Right, he survived that. He wasn't. That's right. Alan Grant, though, also. There's nothing new with this character in this movie. Nothing new. Like he doesn't, like in the first movie, he was a guy that was so, and they reference it in this movie that he loved dinosaurs so much, and then he makes the reference of that's before they try to eat me. But you see him go through this thing, the stuff with the kids, and how he's not been able to relate to the kids, and then at the very end he does, and so the character goes through a really big arc, and he's really the main protagonist in the whole film. In this, he's the main protagonist, but like the only thing the angle he's got is him and Billy, and he insults Billy's like, "Oh, I was going to try to help us out and steal the eggs." And he's like, "You're as bad as they are." And then you think he dies, which he doesn't from the way that it's shot. And then they don't even really redeem it. He just shows up at the end. He's like, "Oh, I'm alive. I got your hat. Okay, cool. That's the priority." What? This is not good.
There are some things that I think work. Like some of the few things. One, we found out that Laura Dern, this is the beginning of us realizing she ages very much like a fine wine. Like she is. We do learn that Alan was so obsessive and maybe shut down so much from Jurassic Park that he they're still friends, but like whatever little romance was there, she went off and found another dude.
I did like that.
Winston, I actually made that point on our Jurassic Park 2 rewatch.
I heard it, but I'm gonna pretend like you didn't embarrass yourself. But I guess the only thing I will say is the only improvement, and we already sort of addressed it a little bit, is that you've at least given us a different motivation. You're not talking about corporate greed this time. You're talking about desperate parents, and I'll give you that. So that we at least have some other way to jack in. But damn, man,
there's a lot of all around.
What about the dinosaur sneaking up on him at the fence? You have that doesn't make any sense to me.
Dinosaurs sneak up on them all over the place. There's dinosaurs that are popping up on the pterodactyl scene when it shows up, and it just hi, how you doing? Like, I'm from Pee Wee's Playhouse, and it's like, and there's that scene. There's the one that sneaks up in the water. The T-Rex. They're showing you it ain't about the T-Rex this time. And did they even have I guess they kind of did. With the very end was there was no really anticlimactic. They set up the one that eats the phone and poops it out. That was like the main one, but it doesn't really even have that much of a huge arc.
Yeah, the Spinosaurus doesn't really have. Well, then they tried to do that again in Jurassic World by having that. Like they always do, like what's bigger than the T-Rex,
right?
Yeah, like they always try to escalate, kind of like the bigger fish thing. I also realized that the Jurassic franchise, now that it's going into its 6th installment, is kind of like the Fast and Furious franchise, where they have lead actors drop out, come back, and then they have big reunion film at the last arc of its series.
Well,
so this 6 is kind of like Fast 8.
Yes, well, it's the nostalgia part of it also that really that is playing, and whether it's Spider-Man or a lot of these movies that I would look Top Gun. There's a lot of movies right now that are coming that are playing off nostalgia, and if you do it the right way, like I'm gonna quote Mark Bernardin for to the day I die now with this. When I had him on the show, we were talking about nostalgia, and he said it very well. Nostalgia, if it's sprinkled in during something and it's executed over a good story, then it works perfectly. But if it's just nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia, then that's when you find yourself in trouble. And that's the question of what this new one will be. But this movie, the other thing that I'll add that I really liked about it, that Marvel for a long time was not doing, that I had a massive problem with. A lot of movies in franchises don't do this, and I have an issue with it. This movie, however, did use John Williams' score a lot. And they didn't try, because it wasn't Spielberg, it was Joe Johnston. So they didn't go away from let's just come up with a new score, because I think that's what they wind up doing in Jurassic World, if I'm not mistaken. But I have to watch that.
I've only seen it the once. I'm not excited, but I'm curious about my second
to watch it again. Me too. Yeah.
I'm excited now because for me, I went into Jurassic World having seen sparse scenes of the original Jurassic Park and not giving two shits about any of this.
Yeah.
So I was just confused most of the time, where people were like, "Oh, BD Wong." I was like, "Cool, Law and Order SVU." Like I didn't equate him to exactly. I didn't equate him to Jurassic Park. So I'm excited now to be able to connect the dots, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen the second one. It's going to be our first watch. I'm excited about it.
You do not be excited about that one. That's a bad movie.
Worse than Jurassic Park 3.
Oh yeah, I enjoy watching Jurassic Park 3. I like even watching it again. Like I can acknowledge it's not a good movie, but I didn't mind. I watched a lot of it last night. I wound up watching around, I think it's close to a 2-hour movie. I watched about an hour and 40 minutes of it, and then I finished the rest of it today. But I think Winston, you said it. It's just like it's like an action ride or whatever it is. Just like it's an amusement park ride. That's what it felt like. Just it's not a great one. Do you want to go on that again? No, not really. But it was fun to go on. Let's go get a beer.
I take that back. There's another redeeming quality of this film that I appreciate. I actually like the exploration of how smart the Raptors truly are. So I love the fact that they set a trap with what is Olansky or whatever his name is, where they I like cut out his spine, and so we gotta save him. And as soon as they go, they're like, surprise, motherfuckers! And you realize.
By the way, there are some cool deaths in this one. Like
it's more of the horror. That was the vibe in the early 2000s, where it's like horror thriller.
I like that. I mean, in the beginning because I didn't know what they were getting with at the top when they had. I mean, because the mercenaries or the crew that they hire or whatever they think that the mercenaries they go quick. The hired guns. We found out that the one guy wasn't even. He was like a whatever. He was lied about whatever it was, or said he's like, "Nah, I never said I was a mercenary. I'm a salesman or whatever the hell he was." The other guys, we don't know who they were. We just know they're dead. And he had the one guy had the phone. And they both ate it quick. The one who cracked Dr. Grant in the head on the plane, he ate it first. So you can't hit Sam Neill or you die. That's
the thing about this movie is like everyone except the people we've already met for the sake of nostalgia is kind of irredeemable. So like we don't feel for either the parents or for the mercenaries or for like everyone just
Billy's okay though. But I thought Billy was okay. Billy's
okay.
He didn't do it. He never did anything wrong. He stole the eggs. He stole the eggs because he was trying to help.
But that was also so stupid. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's hard. It's hard.
You're a paleontologist. How are you supposed to be?
Not as dumb as putting on a T-Rex jacket full of blood.
Well,
not as dumb as that.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's still the dumbest moment we've seen so far. And keeping it on and bringing the T-Rex,
bringing a child into your bloody jacket van.
Julianne Moore still takes the cake, but Dickie Moltisanti coming up second with this
real close second.
Steal the Raptors eggs but what again, bad writing also. Like yes, he shouldn't have the bag. But what's this weirdo thing where Alan Grant won't give him his bag back? It's like imagine Winston, you're walking.
Like what?
Yeah, imagine Winston, you're walking.
Like 3 times.
Yeah, you're Winston. You're walking through, and I got your bag. I'm like, no, I got it, man. It's cool. And you're like, yeah, you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'll carry it. And then that's the end of it. But then you're like, no, I want my bag back. I'm like, nah, it's cool. And then you're like, hey, dude, can I have my bag back? And like, nah, I got it.
No, I'm carrying
my bag.
You're just making sure I don't steal any more raptor eggs. I also love that I got involved in this somehow, that it was my bag of stolen goods. That
your bag. You made this choice.
I didn't say you stole it.
You had a perfectly good Coy right there.
I just mean your bag in general. I just mean your bag in general.
It was too easy. It was like that's a num sack lunch, motherfucker.
Right. It's the truth. No, but I mean, look, that type of stuff. That's just not great writing, because it's just a matter of like, oh, we got to get Grant to somehow find these eggs in Billy's bag. Yeah, let's just have him like not give his bag back. And it's like, why? I was like, because he's like a father figure to him. It's like, dude, give the guy his bag back. And so either that whole thing, but it gets to the point where Billy's not a bad guy. And Sam Neill finally says that at the end. He's like, nah, he's just young and he was doing his thing. And I was mean to him. And you see, because then he takes the hang glider and he goes after that. Those types of scenes, as silly and stupid as they are. And that's the other thing. I mean, you got to completely, in all these movies, you got to suspend disbelief. But this movie, it really asks you, because here's the pterodactyl picking up this kid who is looks like the kid was in good shape when he's packing on pounds while he's in the jungle, which is again no shaming, saying the kid looks healthy, kid looks real healthy. But if you're in the jungle for 8 weeks, you ain't looking like that. You're gonna be dirty. You're gonna be overly skinny, because if you're living on beans and how's he what kind of water?
Yeah.
Got he should guys, hold on a second. What's wrong? I got diarrhea again. I've been drinking this water for the last 8 weeks. I got diarrhea. Like that. This movie is stupid.
I want to give full credit to the versatility of dinosaurs. I think that's my favorite part of this film, is that it not like the second one gave us Compsognathus and a flash of a Stegosaurus, but it was largely the same dinosaurs from Jurassic Park to Lost World as our leads. I think introducing pterodactyls was clever because it adds an aerial fear. I think introducing, a more broad range of dinosaurs was a highlight, but that also kind of made it more of that amusement park ride, whereas they don't matter anymore because we turned that corner. Like every time you're in this world, you just take a left and you're like,
it's like going through Disney World or Disneyland, and it's like, oh, we're in this part. Oh, there's the Peter Pan ride. Okay, now we're out of there. Now we're by the teacups. Yeah,
I never felt fear last, because I was like, oh, we're in this zone now.
Yeah, and then I even said that one moment where he says to him, he's like, the kid knows. The kid knows that as you get closer, they get bigger. Why that is, no one really explains. And the same thing where William H Macy, who's a complete imbecile in this movie, is just like, oh no, they get smaller every time you walk through. Who's saying any of this?
Well, no, but I think that was the one thing that tracked for me, is that William H Macy has no idea what he's talking about. He goes, right. He would go, he'd go in where both the kid and Sam Neill are like, no.
Okay, fine. Now, that's not what I'm saying. But explain to me why. Why are the animals bigger? Why?
Well, I think the only explanation there was
you're making excuses now.
No, I'm not. That Dr. Grant was tired of telling us everything. So he's just like, that's just a fact. Get over it. That's dinosaur fact, bro. Like
rivers equal big. End of logic. Why on an island are they all so separate? Like, why are they all in different little categories on the island? It's an island.
Yeah, and then the fact that they find the kid hears how they finally, after he's with Dr. Grant, and he finally finds his mom and his dad, and he finds it because he hears the phone, and then he's like, oh, the phone. Oh, we didn't have the phone. And he looks over, and the dinosaur's like, hey guys, I got the phone in my belly. And it's like, it goes back to the same point that we had last week for it was these movies were coming out 4 years apart from each other, because the first one was 93, right? Coy, was 93?
93, yep.
So 93, and 97 was the second one, and then this was 2001. So it's every 4 years up, and then it was 14 years later before we got the next one. But it shows you the same point that we made last week, that the landscape of the blockbuster and what was hitting at that point. I want to see what the biggest movie was in 2001.
This definitely felt like a 2001 action movie, which is what I was speaking to before with like the horror thriller element. Because remember in 2001, everything was like it's action, comma blank. It was either like action comedy, action drama, action horror. Nothing was just a genre in that early 2000s wave. And I definitely feel like this suffered for it because this was in that, this was post Sixth Sense in that weird Resident Evil underworld phase, if memory serves.
Well, listen to this. So this is to show you how different the landscape is today. That I'm going to tell you some of the movies that were popular in 2001 in general.
Rom-coms.
It's not just summer. And if you look at the movies that come out today, a lot of these movies wouldn't stand a chance, right? And Coy, one of the movies you're gonna go, of course. But one of these is Atlantis, A Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
There you go. Spy Kids.
Oh God.
The Mummy Returns. Tomb Raider. Scary Movie 2. Pearl Harbor, for God's sakes. Planet of the Apes. Legally Blonde. Hannibal, Along Came a Spider, Not Another Teen Movie, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was probably the biggest one of the year if I was to guess. The Wedding Planner, Heartbreakers, Hardball, Shallow Hal. Good Lord,
Dude, mine is Shallow Hal. You're making some bangers, bro. Legally Blonde, dog. Sam Levine's Vessel. What? Not Another Teen Movie, and Chris Evans as well.
I know.
There's a lot of bangers in there.
I'm not telling you that there's aren't a lot of movies in here that didn't do very well, and some like Legally Blonde that became like classics to a lot of people, right?
20 years later.
I'm just telling you that you put Legally Blonde up against a DC or a Marvel or Star Wars movie. See you later, right? Legally Blonde's a bad example because it falls into that same category of like what the Sandra Bullock side of it. But like, when you're looking at some of these movies that just people just don't most of these movies get made and put on streaming now.
Yeah, Hardball would be straight to streaming.
Which is too bad. It's a great film.
Shrek came out
I totally
agree. Fast and Furious came out in 2001. Right. So like, but there's Training Day, Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings. So those were like the really massive ones, but Vanilla Sky, Black Hawk Down. There's a lot of movies that came out in 2001, but like it's so different back then. So like when that, and I want to see what Jurassic Park 3 did.
I feel like Black Hawk Down might even be a straight to HBO nowadays. Like I'm just wondering what still can exist. Yeah, right. Like a hard R Ridley Scott war movie.
That's a hard movie to get like made now
with that cast, that expense, that scope.
Yeah. All right. So this movie,
when 600 Ground went straight to Netflix, that's when I realized we were in a slippery. Like, not that Michael Bay is an auteur, but like the cost of that movie.
Well, how much do you think Jurassic Park 3 cost to make? Again, 2001.
185.
Yeah, and Winston?
I'll give it 2. I think
you guys are not thinking in 2001.
In $2001?
Okay, let me run it back then. All right, give me 115.
I'll go 140.
93. It's not.
This was less than $100 million.
Remember, $100 million movies weren't like when in 2005 when I was at Warner Brothers. 100 million, 120 million was still like the top. Was like the top thing. People weren't spending that much money. Like 93 million on a blockbuster movie was a lot of money in 2001.
So 20 years ago was a long time, but it's not that long.
I just found another really redeeming quality about this movie. Probably the best thing about this movie.
Profit?
It's an hour and 32 minutes.
That's true.
I did appreciate fast, and then you just said it took you 2 days to watch it. I was like, there's no way I'm right.
No, because what happened was I realized last night it wasn't 2 hours. What happened was, because I thought, I'm like, I watched a lot of this. How did I watch so much of it? And I had already seen the 10 minutes that I'd watched when I thought I was part of part 2. And so then I started watching where I left off last night. And then my wife and I started watching Ozark. And I realized today only like 15 minutes left. I'm like, oh man, I must have watched like close to 2 hours of this last night. I didn't. I must have watched maybe an hour because
10 minutes, hour, 20 minutes.
I watched about 15 or 20 minutes today. I watched the first 15 minutes when I watched it, and I watched about an hour last night. So this is a short movie overall, but it cost $93 million to make. And this is probably something that at the time didn't do very well. They thought it didn't do very well, but I think when you look at the standard, it made $181 million domestically, right? So
It's marketing budget and it's
with marketing on domestic, it probably breaks even right there, right? However, internationally, it made about 187 million, so grand total around 368. So it made about $400 million. Now, let's see what the second one did.
Yeah, I guarantee the drop off is big enough. That's why they waited 14 years. Also, $1 million a minute's not bad. I mean, if you look at a $93 million movie.
Yeah. So okay. So now, how much do you think the budget was for The Lost World, Jurassic Park '97? After what we just talked about,
I still think it was more expensive. I'm going to say 105.
Because Spielberg's involved, I also think it's more expensive. But I'll go. This was 90. What the first one?
This is the second one. 97. We'll get to the first one in a second. This is the second one. 97.
No. I'm saying the 3 was 97.
No.
3 was 2001. This is 97's Lost World.
So
you're giving me the date, not the number. Got it. Okay.
Right.
I think Spielberg. I think Spielberg got 85, so it was less, but he still got a lot.
Winston was closer, but it was 73. 73 million. Again, 97. Remember, 97 at $73 million. Remember, ticket prices are significantly lower.
Oh, yeah, they're like $6 at this point.
Remember, they're very, very low. So
maybe less.
Going off of what we talked about, where you have domestically, this movie did 229 million, and internationally it did almost 400 million for so 618,000 for part 2. So you're looking at a drop off there of almost $300 million or something like that.
Yeah, that's why they paused the franchise.
Absolutely. Even though they made money on it, it's still. Now let's see what the first one did. Now
they made profit, but they didn't make blockbuster profit to what they were expecting.
Right.
Now here's okay. So now we're at the first one, 1993. What do you think the budget is?
It's the best practical and CGI combo, but I'm going to still say about the second one. So I'll go 75 on this one.
I'll go 40.
Winston, I see what you're doing there, but you're shot really low there. But 63.
I was finally closer.
It made 63, but it's funny though because this is again, and how much do you think it made in its opening weekend? $63 million. It's such and I'm just fascinated. Normally we don't go over the box office, but I'm so fascinated by the difference in how the business works now. Like, what do you think the opening was for a $63 million movie?
Well, tickets used to be $5 like universally.
So
I'll say it was a hit because people kept going. I'll say 20 mil.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 35.
It was 47 mil for opening.
Wow. So they almost made their money back in the first weekend. And well, minus the marketing, but domestically it made $404 million. Internationally it made $700 million. It's for $1.9 billion, right? So, wow, dude.
So
a movie that cost that little made 1-something billion.
So it's one of the biggest hits of all time. So 1.9. So you go from, and so that's why they halted the franchise. So you go from 1.9 to then 618. They probably thought that was a loss back then.
Because they profited $1 billion.
Yeah, so they're like, oh, the second
profit.
Because a lot of times you want the sequel to do more. So then when the third one comes out and it goes 368, they're like, this, it's over. Because then you start doing the math and you're like, if we put this thing out again in 2005, what are we going to make next time? We're going to get a loss. Like that's because if you start to do the math, if you're the suits in the room, you go, okay, this costs $93 million.
We've lost 70% each time.
If the next one costs $115 to make in 2005 or 2004 when we make it, and and holy crap, we're going to be at a loss. Nobody's anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense why they've backed off. I don't know.
It makes sense why nostalgia is the way to come back with this sixth one we're about to review.
Right, because people weren't caring as much anymore about Jurassic Park. Because like, there's no take on it that works anymore.
Because they're not doing anything new. Everything about that first one was brand new and fresh. You got some of the best actors involved. Not that you didn't for these remaining ones, but you didn't give them anything to work with.
No, there was nothing.
Yeah, it wasn't the actor's fault. The writers didn't write.
But I think what's funny is that they should have went more actual horror with it, because this was, even though they had horror elements in the beginning with the plane scene, they should have stuck with that, and they should have made it more like of a scary. like, because there's some terrifying moments in the first one, right? You get a little bit of the scary moment just with the plane in this one. For the rest of it, it's just kind of a silly kind of King Kong Godzilla movie.
And the jump scares don't really work because they're all everything we've described is so silly. Like, boo, I'm a dinosaur. So and that's why I'm so afraid of the second Jurassic World is like, I've seen some screenshots of like spooky raptor hands, and I'm like, oh no.
We'll talk about it. But
that said, I don't know if you guys saw the profit breakdown margin of No Way Home. Did you guys see that? What, $610 million profit? So the movie made $1.9 billion. The profit was $610 million, which throws off all of my marketing math because it cost $220 million to make. So that should be a $440 million. So where's that extra $1+? Like, that's a lot of money and change. I highly recommend the article.
Where'd you get the 440 from? Marketing's usually about 100.
I've heard it's usually the production cost. You just double it.
Oh, really?
So if the movie costs,
I've heard that too.
Yeah, you just double the production cost. Because think about how much more they got to do with marketing now. You got to get social media. You got to get boots on the ground. You got to get people
with Marvel. I think they have a set. I don't know who the hell knows. Either way, it made a lot.
Either way, I was shocked that the profit was only $610 million for a $2 billion movie.
But this is why and I know that we're going to do this anyway next week when we talk about Jurassic World. But I want to we're talking about this from Jurassic Park 3, and then it ends because the way that they end that movie. What I did like also, another thing that I found that I myself liking, I like the way that they mentioned, it's brief, but they mentioned Jeff Goldblum in it.
Yeah.
And they still have that little rivalry that they have. He asked when he's talking to the kid about his books, and he's like, well, what'd you think about Ian's book? And he's like, he just seemed a little pompous. And he's like, we're gonna get along. Like, that was great. It keeps that thing alive that I'm sure they're gonna have in the next one, right? But all right, so Jurassic World then comes out 14 years later. Now let's do it. Let's do a little fun game. How much do you think the budget was on Jurassic World?
Oh, dude,
Winston,
way
you go
higher.
first in the words.
Now,
2015.
Chris Pratt is already Star-Lord. They're doing a full revival, and I'm thinking about Force Awakens. I'm gonna say let's give an even number, 250.
Ooh, okay.
I'm gonna go 175 because it's not an IP that people are as invested in, but it still needs the budget to be a blockbuster.
You're way closer, 150.
Okay.
Interesting. And they billioned that.
They didn't start doing 200. They didn't start doing 200 million until like the Avengers and all this stuff started having.
X-Men Days of Future Past was the biggest one at the time, and it was like 230, and that was insane for them to spend. And that was around the same time, but they had 10 X-Men movies to set up.
Let me double check that. I want to see.
I remember thinking Days of Future Past was like the biggest budget of the time.
It was 200. Yeah.
200. Yeah. So like that's insane.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money for that. But the day of the $200 million movie, I think minus the Marvel stuff is going to go down because you can't
maintain this.
It's not sustainable.
You just can't.
Well, we're talking about 20 years ago with movie tickets costing $5. You can't incrementally I'm not going to spend $45 on a movie ticket.
No.
Absolutely.
But this movie made.
But you know what I mean? Like if the math is the math, like that's not the way it works.
But this movie, Jurassic World, by the way, and again, I know we're still doing Jurassic Park 3 here, but Jurassic World made almost 653 domestically.
Wow. We wanted dinosaurs back.
Do you know how much it made internationally?
I'd say more international. I'm going to go 800 international.
650.
Made $1 billion internationally.
Whoa.
A total of 1.6. So that is why, and that's why I think this is relevant to Jurassic Park 3, because looking at what we just did with Jurassic Park 1 into Jurassic Park 2, the loss was a little bit, whatever it was. But Jurassic World, the second one, let's see what the second one was. The second one,
loss in quality. They're about 20% lesser films.
But Jurassic World, the second budget now was 170. And that was a lot because dude, it made 1.3 billion.
So a little less than the first, but still substantial profit.
Enough to where you go, hey, once you cross 1 billion, it doesn't matter how close you got to the other one. You still cross.
Yeah, it's still $1 billion movie.
That's wild, dude.
You still get a ring if you get.
It's not a good movie to make $1 billion. I didn't see it.
It's I didn't realize that Coy was such a large amount of
but I'm playing the Mike, he likes it. I see everything. If I didn't see it, that's not great.
But but that's the thing. It makes that much. But that is why it leads into going back to what we said about this Jurassic Park 3. After that third movie, they looked at the math and they said, no more, we can't do it. Then they come up with a take and they figure out how to do and reestablish.
What year does this drop? Jurassic World.
2015. Right around that same year.
That's the same year. So you think maybe they just got wind that it was happening and they were like, we got to come up with our own.
I mean, maybe. Remember, Kathleen Kennedy was a producer on the first Jurassic Park, so she probably knew. And I don't even know. She might be. I think she might be involved in it. I don't remember. I don't know if she still has.
Good for her. What a combo of franchises.
Well, remember, she worked with Spielberg for forever, but and that's how she also was involved with Trevorrow, bleeding into, because he became the $1 billion kid, and when he did it, because he did it off of, and that's a big win. But again, we'll cover all this when we cover Jurassic World. But it just shows that it makes sense why you would make a third one, obviously. And now with this movie, you have to commend them for totally revamping, because you couldn't. I think taking this 15-year break was a smart move after watching this movie, because there's not, what else can you really say about this movie except if they don't have Sam Neill in this movie, and I wonder if they even asked Jeff Goldblum, and he said no thanks.
I have to imagine they'd ask, especially after the second one was like his leading role, like it went from him being an ensemble player to the lead. So I imagine they asked, but I also imagine he saw the drop off in Lost World and didn't want that on his resume. Because he wasn't like, he got popular. He regained his 90s popularity recently. Like if you look at the Goldblum renaissance, it was not happening in 2001. There was a quiet period.
There's an article that I'm looking at that says why Ian Malcolm didn't return in Jurassic Park 3. This was from Screen Rant. Jeff Goldblum was noticeably absent in Jurassic Park 3 after starring in the first two franchise films. Here are the possible explanations for why. I mean, I can tell you why the possible reasons, but
that's what I'm saying. He's the Paul Walker of the Jurassic Parks. He's in the first two, tags out for Tokyo Drift. Vin Diesel makes a cameo. They all come back for 5.
He does make a cameo in I think it's the second one. He comes back and makes a cameo.
Fast and Furious, Jurassic Park. They got a collab. They're both Universal. Let's have T-Rexes driving cars.
Bless you. There was rumors. The first rumor explanation claimed that Goldblum was never invited to come back. It's important to note that the installment was the first Jurassic Park not directed by Steven Spielberg. Joe Johnston may have felt that since Malcolm was a primary figure in The Lost World, it was time to shift focus. A contradicting rumor suggests that Goldblum was set to return for Jurassic Park 3, but injured his leg shortly after the film started. The rumor also claimed that Goldblum then decided to drop out of the movie since he heard the movie sucks. No, he didn't say that. To drop out of the movie since his role wasn't crucial to the plot. If that was the case, he probably had a brief cameo like Dr. Sattler did. So either of the scenarios is plausible. Okay, well, I mean, that's probably what happened at that. And honestly, I'm glad he wasn't in it. I think that it was good for Alan to have the shine, because I think that even though you look at the movies that we've rewatched, and as they add up to the movie we're about to see, we will have a lot of history with both of them now, and they all and they had their own adventure to shine. And then when they come back together, it would have been great if maybe in Jurassic Park 4, then Ellie would have had her own movie and her own adventure to do, but that just wasn't how it went down.
I'm excited to see what Laura Dern comes back with.
I honestly, based on how things were going, I don't think she would have been like, yeah, you know what, sign me up. That sounds like a good plan right now. I think that everyone, it wasn't just the execs, were like, let's bounce. Because I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they looked at this, it doesn't do super great, but they're like, would anybody want it? And they're like, nah, we got better things.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's like, yeah, we're 3 into this thing. I'm telling you, it was probably a cut our losses scenario. Look, we got lucky. We didn't take a loss on this thing. We made some money on it, and if the math adds up, the next one's going to fail. So we should bail. And then 14
years is the perfect amount of time for nostalgia, and for people that grew up with it to start having kids, or for kids that grew up with them to be old enough. Like, it's the right amount of. It's a generation.
Well, and the technology grew. And the technology, when you look at what Jurassic Park did for technology in movies in 1993, and then what the movie business, how it evolved with the tech, that you're like, well, there's probably another one of those conversations. We should kind of think about Jurassic Park now, because imagine what we can actually do and how great the dinosaurs looked in 93. Imagine what they could look like in 2015.
And little did they know they'd look better in 93.
Well, I mean, it goes to that. I'm going to save judgment. I'm going to save judgment until I watch Jurassic World next week, because I am with you guys. I am excited to revisit at least Jurassic World, right? Because I found myself watching that movie and enjoying it. I remember having a conversation with Dan Murrow, who does not like that movie at all, and being like, yeah, to me, very similar to the way that we just described this movie, that it's like it's like an action a park adventure, but it's also right after Chris Pratt coming off of Star-Lord and all that, and it's right as he was going through his boom. So I don't know. I'm pumped to watch it again, because I'm curious to see.
The best thing I can say about the trilogy is that the first movie feels like behind the scenes on the park, like you're actually immersed.
Yeah.
The second movie feels like you're lost in a world that has dinosaurs, but you're specifically trapped. And the third one feels like you're on a ride, a la what the first movie tried to sell you. Yeah. My issue with the Jurassic World movies is they felt more like they were chasing the ideals of the first movies instead of actually being what I just described with 3 different flavors. So I'd rather a movie have a specificity than to be broad strokes, like color by numbers. I'm hoping this third new one, like Jurassic World 3.
Don't.
I think he's right, Coy. I love your optimism. I try and model my optimism after yours. I think you gotta just be really real about this, bro.
You're not really real. Vincent, this is what I did this morning, because I had my coffee. So I did a reaction to the trailer of the new Jurassic World, and I said, look, this movie just looks like a fun action movie. It just looks like a fun summer popcorn movie. There's really nothing else to it. That's what it looks like. And some guy writes on the comments, and he goes, he quoted what I said. And he goes, well, why? He's like, well, what do you expect it to be? Some highfalutin think piece? He goes, what a stupid statement. My first instinct was to write back, how about you eat my balls?
You're too nice. Why didn't you?
I deleted. I did. I wrote it. I wrote it and then I deleted it. But I laughed and I deleted his. I think I just hit him off the channel in general. But because it's like, I don't mind if someone then will write and say, what do you mean by that? Because it's like, if someone were like, well, what do you mean by that? Isn't it supposed to be like a fun summer action? And I think it goes off the point of what
not just like stupid.
It just exactly what Coy just said, and that was the kind of the point, is that there's something more to Jurassic Park, the first one, than just a big summer blockbuster movie.
Agree.
It certainly is that, but there's more to it. This doesn't seem like there's any more to it except just grab popcorn and have fun.
And that's the flip side of that. I'm not saying that those movies aren't important and they don't exist, but like what we're about to potentially see out of Doctor Strange, what we've seen out of a number of Marvel movies. Some of them are on they're just blockbuster tip, but most of them are actually trying to hint at something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I've cried more at a movie than probably Black Panther and Infinity War, because they're hitting you on emotional strings with real storylines. You're attached to what's going on.
You're attached to a lot of characters. Well, by the way, and I know this is Jurassic Park, talk about emotionally attached, and I've been talking about this for a while. Moon Knight, the last episode.
Dude,
the best
so
episode.
many tears.
I've said it.
So behind.
And I don't like, it's so funny. I said that to me, it is the best episode of Marvel television that I've seen so far. And I'm not asking people to agree with me, but some people who we know said, well, that's not true. To you.
That's
it's
so
what I'm
weird
saying.
how my opinion of my experience is my opinion of my
favorite.
experience.
Mike was talking about it, and it's like, Kristian thought that it was the best, and a few people were like, no, no, that's not true. It's like, yeah, it is to me. And
I think Kristian's favorite episode is in fact the 5th of Moon Knight.
To me, it is the best episode of Marvel because of what you're talking about, Coy. It's that emotional attachment to Winston, to the characters and the understanding of it and being that invested. And that's what you want from any movie that you see. Yeah. But I don't think you're going to get there with this franchise. I think
I've always said the best way to have an action franchise is so the punches land twice. And that means you care about both sides of it, right? Like the reason Daredevil's so good is because you get Vincent D'Onofrio. So when Daredevil's choking him out, the punches land twice. The problem I have at Jurassic Park is it's almost like diminishing returns of the experience. Remember when we did the Matrix one of these, like the very beginning of the rewatches?
Yeah.
What I love about the Matrix is how much it reflects our life. And the whole thing about the Matrix is the cave allegory. And the part of the cave allegory is that when you keep replicating something, the actual visions of purity get more and more distorted.
Right.
I feel like Jurassic Park is very much that allegory coming to play of like, yeah, we keep just making them. And I really hope I'm wrong, but it can't be worse than the second Jurassic World.
No, but you know what it is? It's the thing is you want to make sure, like, that's why this movie, the third movie, and I think the third movie can compare to the second Jurassic World to a lot of people, and I understand that. I think that there's just, I want to feel in any movie that I see, whether it's a blockbuster or not, I still want to be able to connect to it and feel like, oh man, what would I do if I was in a scenario like that? Like even if it's on another planet. Yeah. It's like if you put like Dune, right? Like Dune is a movie that it's in a different universe, but I feel like the characters are real. I feel like they're real. And it's like there's no one in Jurassic Park 3 that felt real. It just felt like movie characters running around from big monsters. And that's
as long as I feel I'm happy, as long as those feelings are what I sought out, right? So like I'd rather be surprised and have more depth. But if I'm going to a Jurassic Park movie, my expectations, which are usually wrong, are I'm going to feel connected as well as emote at this experience of humanity with dinosaurs. You know what I mean? Like
I do. But like this movie though too, like here's a perfect example of how, and I think Winston said it before, where you weren't really attached to anybody. Even though I found myself like Billy, I thought Billy was the one that I was probably the one I cared. Like if I knew Billy didn't die, not because I'd seen the movie before, because I didn't remember, even because I didn't remember, I hadn't seen this movie in a while, but I was like, he didn't die because of the way they shot it. It was shot in a way that he's not dead. So that was clear as day. But everybody else, I didn't care if they got eaten. Like when William H. Macy, who I like, is hanging from that thing, I'm like, let him get a snack. Who cares?
Yeah, that's not how you want to be in a movie.
Jesus.
It's like, come on. At this point, it's like, I don't, whatever. Tia Leone, I love. She's doing nothing to help anybody. She's
less than a damsel in distress because she's actually a deterrent in this film.
100%. Stop screaming. I've told you many times, stop calling the kid's name out, and she keeps doing it.
And like it's not fair for her to have a character that dumb to try to be likable. She's just not likable.
Right.
She's not.
I guess that is the issue. There's no hero here and there's no villain because at least in the very
hero.
Is he?
He's so curmudgeonly towards Billy, who we like.
Right.
But that makes him kind of a, you know what I mean, like an off-putting
grouchy old man.
Yeah,
but you said it before. He was allowed to have a story arc in the first one and did, and so that to us is its own version of a hero's journey while running from giant monsters.
He doesn't go anywhere.
He learns nothing. He was saying it from the beginning.
I guarantee you wouldn't like him in here.
That's true because he doesn't go through anything, and it's like it's Ellie who's able to say, "Oh, you guys need help? Sure, let me call the Marines. You'll be good in 2 seconds."
Like Winston, you hadn't grown up with these movies. If you remove Alan Grant's arc from Jurassic Park and you don't have any nostalgia for it, I don't think you would have enjoyed Alan Grant in Jurassic Park 3.
No, I agree with that 100%. I agree with that. He does. He gives you nothing to where.
So confined to the movie, there's no hero.
Yeah, I think that he's the only argument or counter argument to that is that this movie is relying on the fact that you've seen the other ones.
Oh, 100%, which isn't necessarily like. We're not at MCU level here with these movies. It's unreliable.
But what I mean though is that Alan Grant is the hero because of his past actions from part 1.
Yeah,
do come into play because they ask you to because of the things that he's saying in the beginning and just trying to like the stuff that he's trying to do. So it's kind of it all matters, right? But if it's the first movie you ever saw and you didn't watch 1 and 2. And you were like, "Oh, I don't care about this guy. He doesn't." Well, yeah, but if you got to watch the first one, I don't want it. This guy, he's not fun.
Yeah, say you were born in '95. You know what I mean? You're 6 or 7 years old and wanting to see a dinosaur movie. Yeah. You're not going to love the grumpy old guy with the hat.
No, it's true.
No,
and so that's what I'm curious about with this Chris Pratt version, this Jurassic World, which we're about to get into, is whether or not the nostalgia of those characters meshes with our new wave of these characters. Like, I'm sure this third one is going to be my favorite of the Jurassic Worlds because of my nostalgia, but whether or not, the next generation is going to have that same reverence.
I don't know.
Because if it made $1.9 billion, clearly there's a brand new audience. So I'm just curious how much they care about Alan Grant and
But if it made $1.9 billion, I don't agree with you that it made a brand new audience. I believe that's every parent going, yo, because look at Force Awakens, which I think we have acknowledged has aged definitely better over time and whatnot. Like, people loved it when it was there, but they're having a little more reverence for it now when you look at all of the sequel trilogy and you kind of go,
you see, yeah, right. It's Force Awakens when it came out initially. People who were losing their minds, and there's people who still love it. But yes, perfect.
I didn't like it. I was actually one of the few people that I was like, "This is dope," but I immediately was like, "So you're just gonna give me the exact same beat for beat? You're not even going to attempt to do something new?"
See, I cared about that less because I thought that 8 and 9 would deliver so much that it would play off of what we saw and go differently. And it did. 8 did go differently, but it's a different conversation. Anyway, look, we've got this that just came out. This is Jurassic Park 3. Next week will be Jurassic World. On Monday, you're going to get another dose of us because on Big Thing, we are going to be doing every big movie that we do, whether it's Spider-Man, the Batman, and now we're doing Doctor Strange. We have a full spoiler episode that will be myself, Winston, and Coy. That will be this Monday. And then on Friday, you get the rewatch episode of the three of us talking about Jurassic World. So make sure, if you haven't already, you got to do one thing just for your whole life. You got to subscribe and show a little class, will you? Show just a little ounce, 1 ounce of class, and hit that notification button. Do everything. Share these episodes. Let people know about it. And for myself, Winston, and Coy, it is the Big Thing. Thank you, guys. Make sure you check out Winston on the Blurs in the Hood. Make sure you follow him at the Swaggy Blurred. Coy Jandreau, you can follow him on his YouTube channel, the TikToks, all that stuff, and Real Rejects, taking pictures with celebrities wherever he can go.
I gotta boost that riot cred, man. I gotta get that riot.
For the Big Thing, we'll see you guys soon.